Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar from HROnboard, introducing you to our new Bananas release. My name's Peter Forbes, I'm the CEO of HROnboard, and today with me is Belinda Ralston. Welcome, Belinda.
Thanks, Pete. How are you going?
I'm well. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Melbourne, isn't it?
Nice change.
Yeah, it's still like 9 degrees, but anyway, it's good. So look, everyone, thank you for coming along today. Today's webinar is probably about half an hour. We're pretty excited about what we've got to show to you today. We've been working on this release for the last quarter, and you know, it's been a lot of hard work, but we're pretty happy with the results. And as you'll see, and I hope you'll agree, the product's just getting better and better with each release. So just a couple of little housekeeping things first off. If you want to ask any questions throughout the webinar, you've got a little button there. You can ask a question. Just click on the Q&A, type it in, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. We do want to keep this interactive, so yeah, if you've got questions, comments, we'd love to hear them. Okay, so just a little bit about who myself and Belinda are. We're your HROnboard product managers. So basically, from my perspective, I lead the HROnboard team. I'm probably the guy who comes up with a lot of crazy ideas and then says to Belinda, hey, can we do this? Is it possible in the time frame? And we argue and haggle, and eventually we come out with a release. Belinda's our formal product manager, so she coordinates the development team, does a lot of the hacking of the CSS and HTML on the front end, and she also coordinates our testing and release processes to make sure, because we are software as a service, which means when we release, all of our customers get the release. Her job's really to make sure that the impact on you as customers is minimal. Any features that we're doing are kind of turned off by default. So, you know, the change management to our customer base, where possible, is as minimal as possible until you're ready to take on those features. So that's us. So, Bananas is our biggest release ever, and for those of you who have been around with us for a little while, you'll realize we've got this sweet tooth for lollies. This is actually our 10th release since we launched in January 2013, which just is wow. It's been a really fun ride. We started, our first release was our licorice release, and we went all the way through. And look, we think the Bananas release is pretty much our biggest release ever in terms of, you know, the features that you're seeing. Each release also has a number of features that we probably don't talk a lot about because they're infrastructure type related things. They're important, but they're kind of boring and they don't have any visible impact on you as customers, but it's there to give you the stability of the stability and the security of the system in terms of the hosting and the data behind it. Okay, so let's talk about Bananas. Oh well, before we talk about Bananas, I just wanted to go back with HROnboard. What we try and do is obviously onboarding and offboarding made easy. Our kind of purpose of why we're here is to improve the way organizations manage and engage their people. That's really what we're trying to achieve with our products. With HROnboard, we focus on two primary things. Our first focus is the great candidate or new hire experience. So making that first touch with your organization as magical and as great as possible, because you know these days you want to engage candidates in the recruitment process, but once you've selected that person you want to come on board with your organization, you also want to continue that engagement and that great experience, and that's really what our main core purpose is. And our second sort of purpose or promise is to make that back office processing of those new hires, of those offboards or those contract updates as easy as possible. So that means obviously getting rid of the paperwork, so it's no manual processing, it's an online experience. That also means no rekeying from your recruitment system into onboarding into payroll, and we try and facilitate that through really configurable offer workflow, automation of contract builds, and also our integration options, and being quite open in terms of how we can integrate to other systems. We have a brand guarantee, and we'll talk about this in the Bananas release because it's manifested itself in the Bananas release. So our guarantee to our customers is that we guarantee an awesome candidate experience using HROnboard. Otherwise, you don't pay for that onboard transaction, or we credit you that back. And Belinda will show you in Bananas release where that guarantee is actually displayed in the new hire portal for your candidates. Okay, so let's talk about Bananas. It is our biggest release ever, and when Belinda will take you through the product and some of the changes, but I just want to highlight a couple of things that we've done for you. The first one is probably the changes in our new hire portal, where new hires come to accept and view their offer. We've done a lot of work in that. The first big one is the layout of the portal. We've kind of changed it a little bit, and we've broken up the acceptance and the forms that they need to complete into more logical steps. And this ties into then what we call the offer workflow configuration. So now our customers have more granular control about what happens in that offer workflow. So this really means is what forms the new hire needs to accept that they need to complete before acceptance of their offer, or you can choose that they can fill in forms after the formal acceptance of their offer, and Belinda will demonstrate that for you. We've also made it a little bit easier on first-time logins for new hires, just to take away that temp password sort of aggravation and try and take away as many friction points as possible to get that new hire into the portal, viewing the offer and viewing information about your company. We've really focused hard on mobile devices for this release. The new hire portal, you've always been able to use, log into it from a mobile browser, but we've really focused on some of the UI features in this release to even make it more easier to navigate and to manage around. In the back office, we've done a couple of things. We've now implemented what we call our kind of global legislative forms. What this means is part of what we're trying to do in HROnboard is take away the pain for you guys to worry about what government legislation forms you need to include in an offer pack if you're hiring someone in Australia, New Zealand, and our dream is any country in the world. We want to carry the burden of worrying about the legislative forms in each country. So now we've got some ways so we can globally maintain that across all our customer base. We've done a couple other tweaks in terms of just again making our back office interface more responsive on iPads and mobiles, and we've also got some login screen improvements. General improvements, again, we'll show you a couple of these, but you can now monitor the status of our whole infrastructure on our external site. We've got a configuration mode and some more changes to our APIs, which more and more of our customers are using. So that's kind of the high level what's happening, but now, like we like to do, is show you the product. So we'll switch over to Belinda.
Great.
Thanks, Belinda.
Thanks, Pete. Okay, so one of the things that I'm really excited about is a bit of a change to our emails. So as you can see here, I've got an email from our new Marenco company to someone called Peyton. And in this email, we've got the view offer and all the text that we had before. What you may notice is missing though is a temporary password for them to log in. So one of the big changes, and I think this is going to make it much easier for all your new hires moving forward, is that they don't need to worry about entering in a temporary password anymore. So if I click on this view offer link, it takes me straight to the change password page where they set their password. So this is designed to make that experience a lot better for all your new hires starting.
In this environment we're showing you, this is our new demonstration environment, a fictitious company called Marenco.
It's true.
Just in case you're wondering who Marenco was.
Yeah. Probably another change worth noting on this page is that we now have a privacy policy link here for HROnboard's privacy policy, just basically saying that by logging in you're accepting our privacy policy by coming to the system. So I'm going to log into our newly designed portal. Okay, and you can see we've got the new Marenco branding that we've got here, and you'll notice straight away a few interface changes that are a bit different to before. Firstly, previously we had 1 to 4 steps in the top right hand corner here. We've basically moved these mostly due to a spacing issue and a layout issue because we have more pages now. So you'll notice on the left hand side here we now have a breakup of all the different pages that we're going to be working through, all the different screens. You'll also notice that there are more screens, as Pete mentioned before, and this comes a lot down to deciding what things you need to do before you accept the offer and after you accept the offer. So I'm going to run through these screens, but just so you can see on the left here, we've got the welcome screen, which I'll run through in a second, the personal details and work rights, but then in there we have the offer acceptance. So this allows them obviously to accept the offer, and then once they've accepted the offer, they can then fill in the tax file declaration form and the super choice form. So basically choose to do that later when they have a bit more time perhaps.
And for our enterprise customers who have the ability to configure in other online forms into their system, this is a good thing because the feedback we were getting was that a lot of customers, they want the new hire to accept their offer, but there's a couple of forms they had to fill in that were they're important to collect before day one, but they didn't want to stop. They didn't want those form collection to stop the new hire from formally accepting their offer,
yeah.
which is what you want to do to make sure that guy's going to arrive on day one.
Yeah, definitely. We did get that feedback a lot. You'll also notice that we've got this interesting looking guy on the left hand side here as well. He's Rick. Rick is basically our demo recruiting guy, and we have these have questions bubbles. So another piece of feedback we got from some customers was that if the new hire has any questions or wants to talk to the recruiter, and this may be at 10 o'clock at night, or they don't want to have a chat right now. I mean, we do have Rick's phone number in the box displayed there if they do want to give him a call, but they can basically click in here and say, I have a question, I can't spell, it's a bit embarrassing, about my salary. And they could put some more information in whatever they like, click send, and that will basically send an email off to Rick.
To the hiring manager.
Yep. The offer creator.
Yep.
The offer creator,
Yep.
Basically letting them know whatever that is, and so they can continue that conversation by email. But that way they don't need to go to Gmail or something else to be able to start that communication.
And that photo is controlled by the profile from the offer creator.
Correct. So if the user has their profile picture set up, it will display here. If you do not have a profile picture set up, it just won't show at all, and it won't be a white space. It'll just move up, and you'll just have questions in the box underneath. So it's only there displayed if you've got a profile picture set up, just so that they can kind of put a face to the name. Okay, so they're probably the two big layout differences with the welcome screen. Is just on the left hand side here, that you're having this the progress indicator and the contact widget. So if I scroll through, this section is all very much the same, where you've got the employment contract you can download, why I work at the company, videos, as you're all aware, there's a lot of branding things you can do here depending on what you want. Supporting information's displaying all that information as well, and people that you know, and I haven't logged into LinkedIn, so that looks better when you're logged in. My apologies. Okay, so if I proceed to the next step, as you said, the welcome screen is very similar to before. Now, in the old portal, and I'm going to quickly revise that, you basically had the questionnaire page here, which was a very, very long form depending on your configuration, with lots of questions for the new hire to fill in. So the big difference here, as Pete mentioned, is breaking these up into smaller chunks. which you'll see as we work through. It makes it easier for the new hire to work through, as well as allowing us to put things before acceptance and after acceptance. So this page here is just our default personal details page. So we've got some information here about Peyton, her address information already pre-filled. Put a date of birth in. She can have the same birthday as me. How's that sound?
Happy birthday for this week, Belinda.
Thanks, Pete. Some emergency contact information. So I put in a phone number. I can't count while I'm typing. And some bank details as well.
So the personal details screen will always be required pre-acceptance because it's got some details that then get populated into the contract. But that's the only required form pre-acceptance. Is that correct?
Yeah, I probably would also recommend the work rights.
Yes.
Because one of the changes in it, work rights will probably look different to most customers as well, is just making sure that that person has rights to work in Australia before you actually get them to accept it, is probably a really good move as well.
Yes.
Okay, work rights. So as I mentioned, this one is a bit of a change for most of our customers. So we've done a bit of an update due to some legislative changes. And you'll notice here we have a bit of an info area up the top giving the users some information about Vivo and Department of Immigration and how that works. And basically what we're planning to do here is have the option for the new hire to select, are they an Australian or New Zealand citizen? Are they a permanent resident? Do they have a visa to work in Australia, or they don't have a visa to work in Australia? And so basically by choosing Australian resident allows them to upload documents if they want to. It's not mandatory. And you can have the choice there to provide more information on that if you'd like. But basically, again, if they need the visa, that's where they have to enter the information so you can do a Vivo check on them to make sure they have rights to work in Australia.
For our New Zealand customers, we've got the equivalent New Zealand work rights in there, would go in there as well.
Correct, yes.
Yep.
Okay, so basically once I've finished the work rights and chosen the relevant option, I can hit save and continue. And you can see this takes me straight to the offer and policy acceptance screen, which again looks very similar to before. The main difference being is that we've got the contract and I've got the policy, but I haven't actually got the forms listed here. And this is only because I have my tax file form, my super choice form after the acceptance, so it's not required as part of this acceptance screen. Having said that, if I did choose to have these forms before acceptance, which you can choose, this is configurable, those forms would then display here like they do now. So it just comes down to how you want this to work for your new hires. Okay, so I'm just going to download these documents and agree to the contract, and the same with the internet usage policy, and hit accept and continue. And this works in the same way as before, where a text message gets sent to somebody, which is hopefully going to be me, with the code to basically log in. So I'm going to enter that code in now. Ooh. Okay, I probably need the right pin.
It's good to know. So what we're trying to do while Belinda's having input errors,
yes,
with the offer workflows is make this configurable as possible to suit different hiring situations. As we've evolved HROnboard, we've learnt a lot more about the different types of offers. So a lot of our customers not only use HROnboard for new hires, for employing new staff, they might do it for contract updates, extensions, redeployments. And to us, they're really just another type of offer. So, you know, if you're talking about contract updates, the same theories about the configurable workflow also apply in that situation as well. Don't you love live demos where things always go wrong?
Yes.
You've got some issues,
something I have no control about. Yes.
Do you want to override it in the back office?
Yes, I am doing that just this moment. I apologise for the delay, everybody. It always happens when you're trying to show everyone something live.
That's right. So what we're trying to do with as we extend the functionality, we're also going into more multi-country features. So what this means is you might be a company in Australia or New Zealand, but you're employing people in all different geographic locations. So when you're creating offers, you'll have the ability to specify which country is this offer for, and then the default forms will come into that offer. You're back.
I'm back. I apologise for that delay, everyone. So basically, you can see I've accepted the offer now, put the correct code in, which makes a big difference. And then you can see we've got a bit of a thank you for accepting your offer message. For those of you aware of our email notifications, basically we can send out an email notification at this point to maybe the manager or whoever you need to know to say that the offer's been accepted, and that can trigger off things on your side if you need them to. And then we've gone straight into the first form, and in this case it's the tax file declaration form. So one of the big benefits of having this broken up here is that we can display some more information at the top and have the instructions available for the new hire to download. And then we've got some information to enter, like your tax file number. So I'm going to put in the dummy tax file number. We've got the name information that's come through automatically, so they can change that if they need to, or just be happy with that if that's all good. And then some tax file questions, and these are all questions you've seen before. Are working full time? And I'm just going to quickly go through the tax questions because I'm sure you're all aware of them. Don't need a reminder of them.
And again, we've worked on this for a mobile interface. So if someone's completing their new hire from a mobile interface, this all goes down to a nice layout. Yeah, you can show it if you can. You press the right buttons.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to make sure I do.
It might be hard to see on a screen share, but we'll figure it out. Unless you just resize the window. Okay. Oh, here we go.
Okay, so if I go into mobile mode, you can just see here, this is now the tax file declaration form in mobile mode. So you can see the header gets reduced quite a bit. You do have a hamburger menu, which at the moment just lets you log out.
Because you're still accepting your offer?
Yep. And basically scrolling through, you can see everything's just being squeezed down, and the form fits on nicely on the screen as well. So as Pete mentioned, if you do want to fill this in through your mobile, that's definitely an option for you going through the form and with the buttons at the bottom. So hopefully that makes that experience much better for all the candidates.
Yeah. It's interesting, as the workforce changes, different people entering the workforce, there is a real focus on using mobile devices to accept the offers. I don't think in the back office, I think still most HR recruitment people will be using full screen devices, but definitely for your new hires, it needs to be responsive to different form factors.
Yep, definitely. And the final form I've got on this demo is superannuation choice form. So you can see we've got some superannuation information displayed on the left here. And probably the big difference with this one is it's got some information here about your default super fund. So as you all know, you will have your own default funds that you want to show some information about. This one here's got a brochure about Vic Super and a bit of information. That's all configurable, so you can provide us the text and things you'd want for that, and we can display information about your default funds there. And then from here they can basically have the choice to choose their super fund. So they can choose a default super fund, or they can put in their own fund, and as you're probably aware, there's quite a lot of information required to gather there. So I'm going to be a little bit lazy with this one, not fill all that in. Probably also worth pointing out, Pete, as well, you briefly touched on this before, but with this tax file declaration form, the super choice form and work rights for Australia, they're basically going to be legislative forms that we maintain for you moving forward. And that's the benefit of having this breakup as well, is that it makes it easier for us to get those changes out to you faster than it has been previously, because it was amongst all your configuration. So it's going to make this process much easier for us to do that.
Yeah. And our hope is to keep rolling out country packs. So far we've done Australia and New Zealand, but we're also focusing on the US and the UK as well.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to finish this form off now. Submit, save and submit. Okay, and then basically you're taken to the home page. So there's a new home page. So we have the congratulations message, which is the same as before. And in this demo environment, we've got some text showing up, a Google map showing you how to get to work. This person's very lucky, it's a 5-minute walk. How convenient. And then some information down here about following Mara & Company, got a portal and sharing the news. Now, as Pete mentioned earlier, we've added some more brand promise into the application than was there before. So we've got this little link available now. How was your onboarding experience?
So when we discussed about this, we thought we'll put this link in. It's kind of subtle, but it's there. If people really wanted to comment on their experience, they could. And even though this may be a bad experience by a new hire for something us as the vendors didn't do, but there was something in your employment process, we feel that we should be developing our platform in such a way that it's really hard to not have a good experience. So we're pretty confident in our platform, so we've put that there. If they click on that little link, they can say they loved it or there's some problems and give some feedback and submit. Now we'll see that feedback in the first version. That just comes back to us, but don't worry, if we see any feedback, we'll definitely be feeding that through. In later versions, we'll release a bit more exposing that, so you've got that visibility. But we really wanted to just get a version 1 of that in for Bananas to kind of commit to our brand promise.
Definitely. So to submit that off now. As Pete said, feedback comes back to us. We've got that registered there for you, and it just says thank you for them submitting their feedback. So that's probably one of the big changes on this screen. The other big change, besides Rick changing sides of the screen, is on the right hand side now, is that the navigation bar up the top has a couple of extra options. Now these options weren't available before, they only happen after you've completed the workflow. The first one, this one here is called the Marin code. This will actually be named whatever your company name is. And this just allows a new hire to actually go back and see that information that you had on that welcome screen to be able to access it again. Because one of the things that we had an issue with in the old workflow was that once you finished the welcome screen, that was it, that information, you could never see that information again. So we've got a bit of the wording here, the video, they can come back and watch the video again later if they want to, and see the LinkedIn plugin. So basically everything on that front screen is now available for them to come back to before. The other big change on the home screen that wasn't there was the big document section at the bottom that was a bit messy. So we now have the My Offer option in the tab at the top, and this gives everyone all their documents available here so they can come and download them at any point in time and see all that information available to them there. So basically creating this is a bit more of a portal than it was before, which was a very wizard focused type of portal.
Yeah, and it sets us up for future features that we want to put into the portal, having more information and content, and again trying to engage the new hire before they start on day 1.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I know one of the big questions everyone's going to have is okay, so now when it's in trial, is my new hire portal going to look like this straight away? And the answer is no, basically. So to be able to have everything looking exactly like this straight away, we actually need to do some configuration changes to everyone's environments to break up that questionnaire page into multiple pages, which is something we can't do overnight, but we are going to be working on for you. So what I'd like to show you now is how it's actually going to look for all our existing customers that are live with HROnboard, so this they can see how it's going to be for them right now, as opposed to where it will be going to once we've got it configured for you. So I go back and have a look.
And again, this is part of our effort to not create too much disruption for our current customers when we push out releases. So we want to have them as passive as possible, and over time, once you're comfortable what's there, you can start to configure these into your environment. And this applies. All these changes applies to both standard and our enterprise plans.
Okay, so for existing customers that have their setup, as you're aware, you have the 4-screen process at the moment, and that remains the same. So the big change is you can see I've logged into an old configuration here without the breakup of the pages. You can see we have the welcome screen. The main difference, obviously, the indicators are on the left rather than on the right over here now, but the welcome screen will be exactly the same as it is before. You can see we've got the questionnaire tab on the left here, so that is a full screen questionnaire just like it was before. That hasn't changed,
comprising all of the questions for all of the populating all of the forms.
Exactly. Yep. And you can see the last one here we've got is that accept screen, which was the same as before as well, which will then basically take you to that same final screen, depending on how you currently have that configured, it will be configured the same way, where you've got the menu options at the top as well. So as you can see, probably the big difference will be is just that you have the one page of the questionnaire until we've broken that up for you, gone through that process.
And our customer success teams will be in contact with all of our existing customers about just scheduling in the configuration to the new style as well.
Exactly, yeah. So that's something we're going to be working on over the coming weeks and months, is basically getting everyone moved over to that new process, a new way of doing it. Okay, so that's pretty much everything from a portal perspective I wanted to go through. So I wanted to show you a couple of things from the back office side of things. So, back office side of things. As you can see, the back office users now have a new login screen. So there's basically a background image behind it, and that's really the main change.
We just wanted to make it pretty, didn't we?
Yeah, pretty much. We just wanted to make it a little bit more exciting. So that's the only change, otherwise it's identical to how it was before. So now if I log in, now I'm actually logging into a test environment. You'll notice that the header is bright orange, and you'll be like, what's going on? Why is that bright orange? So some feedback we got from customers when we had the strawberries and cream update was that they didn't find it obvious enough what environment they were in.
For our enterprise customers who have non-production environments, yeah, it gets a little bit confusing.
Exactly. Oh, very good point. So we did have the indicator down the bottom, but that just wasn't obvious enough. So we've basically changed it. So now if you're in the trial environment,
any non-production environment, basically.
Yeah. It'll be bright orange, and when you're in production, it will be blue. So hopefully that makes it really obvious that you're in the right place, and so we don't get tests in the wrong environment and that type of thing, which is what it's been designed to avoid. Okay, so the other big nice new feature that we've had added in here is around our search. And I hope I've got this going.
Search?
Search. Yes, okay. So as you're all aware, when Strawberries and Cream released, we added in some filters and things which made it really nice. So I might just want to see all my Australian onboards. And I might want to just see, okay, I just need to know everyone that's in first review at the moment. I hope I have someone in first review. I don't. Maybe we want to do prepare. Okay, really not winning at the moment. Maybe we'll just do all the stages. Just because I'm not winning there. Okay, so I might want all this information in an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV file so that I can then go and send that to a file for somebody or do something with it. We've had a lot of people request that they wanted to have that information available. So you can see in the right hand corner here, we now have a tools option where we can export this data to CSV. And that's basically downloading a CSV file for me. And the CSV file is quite simple. It's basically what's displayed on the screen. I'm just going to bring it across so everyone can see. But as you can see, it's got all the information that was on screen brought out. Now, it is worth mentioning that if you have a lot of records, so for example, this search only had 15 results, but if my search results had 100 results, all 100 records would be exported to CSV for you. It's not just the ones shown on the screen at that time. So it does make it easier if you needed a list of records that you can get them out very quickly and just get that information. Another nice feature that we've added in is if we go into the event file, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, where you can see where we're currently at with this new hire. I'll go into the audit trail. I haven't got it turned on. I apologise, I haven't got it turned on. But in the right hand corner is basically the same button, a tools button, and you can export the audit trail to CSV as well. So this is really handy if you need that access to that audit trail for auditing purposes basically, and that information is now available and exportable as required. Anything else on that, Pete, you'd like to add?
No, I think that's about it in terms of the overall general improvements.
Great. So I would like to show you, I'll introduce to you our status page. So this is something that is part of, or we've done recently and set up, and I wanted to just introduce to everybody. So we've got this new page at status.hronboard.com.au. And this page allows you to basically see if HROnboard's up and running. And most of the time, obviously, we hope that it is and we haven't got any issues, but this is a way for us to send this information and make this information available. So you can see it's broken down to a couple of different things like our application, our database, our PDF server, and some third-party applications, and you can see if they're all up and running or not. But this is where we're basically going to post information about if, unfortunately, we do have an outage for some reason, we will post that information here, and then we'll also post the information about why it went down and what we've done to stop that from happening in the future. But one of the reasons why I wanted to point it out to everybody is it has the subscribe option up the top right hand corner, and this is a place you can choose to subscribe via email or SMS or however you like, so that you can be notified if there are any outages of our production environment. So this is production environment focused, but it's just a way that you can get that information however you like.
Yeah, and we'll like Belinda said, we'll publish any incident history on here as well. And any post-mortems of any incidents, because again, part of our philosophy is we're an open vendor. Any downtime, any issues, we'll explain that to all of our customers and on our kind of public feeds. We also tweet about it, so if you follow the HROnboard Twitter account, any issues with our infrastructure, you'll know about it. It doesn't happen often, but we've had about 3 in the last 12 months for a couple of minutes, and they're actually documented on here as well.
Yeah.
So you can see.
You can see the full history here. So the last month's been very good, but you can go back to full incident history and see it all there, which is really handy. Okay, so while I've got everyone here, I just want to mention a couple of other changes that it's very hard for me to actually show you on screen, but I'll just quickly mention. So there have been a couple of changes to our API, our existing API. Basically, one of the changes come out in Bananas is it's got more information on error handling. So before it was very hard to see what was causing the error, so that's actually been introduced in this release. So you should actually get an actual error message to what the issue was. Also, the validation we've removed on the APIs, which will basically just make that easier to get transactions through. Finally, Pete briefly mentioned before, but we've got a new configuration page, and this one's going to be really handy for us while we're doing config for you in your trial environments. We can actually lock your environment down while we're doing that, so you're not testing while we're configuring. For those of you that have done that before, you know that can be a little bit frustrating because you just don't know where it's at the moment, so it just prevents those issues from happening. So if you see that there's a configuration page up and we're currently working on your environment, that's just a new feature that we've added into this release as well.
Okay, so if you just want to take us back to the slide deck, so that's pretty much Bananas. We just want to give you a sneak peek on what's coming next. Skip over that one, and we'll go to there. Yeah, so our next release is in October 2015. It's called Fantails. Australian lolly, we like it. So just to give you a bit of a snippet, I'm not going to disclose everything that's in Fantails at this time, but we are introducing tasks for new hires. This is another thing we know everyone wants to do, the ability to give tasks to a new hire to say, hey, you've accepted the offer, but now go do these 5 things. And if you haven't, we want to nag you about that or encourage you to do them. So we're looking at that. We're also starting our exposure of the DIY admin, so that gives you the ability to configure and manage and maintain some of your own things in your environment, things like users and groups and permissions and roles, some of the wording and the configuration in the portal. So Fantails will see the start of that, and that's for both our standard and enterprise customers. It's a start. I discussed, we already do multi-country and multi-company in our product. It's more of an enterprise feature at the moment. What we want to do is have the ability for HROnboard to basically be a global onboarding platform, that you could be hiring people in any geographical region, and we'll default in the country legislative forms. But we also want to handle the instance where there's a lot of organizations who have multiple corporate entities under the one parent company, and they may be hiring under those different child companies. We want to give you the ability to basically, that new hire experience to be slightly different for the different companies that you're hiring for, and to cater then for the forms as they populate that it's got the right ABN details and things like that. So that's all. I'd love to tell you more, but I can't tell you more. But it is going to be huge, and there's a whole lot more in it. But I guess our focus is really on the onboarding experience, to give more engagement for the candidate, and to make it just a wow factor, to really impress those guys about your company and your brand when they're joining.
Definitely.
So that's coming in October. If you go push along, Belinda.
Thanks.
Next slide. Yep. Look, just a couple of things for those people in the audience who aren't our customers, why you might want to select us. Couple of things. We give you that out-of-the-box configuration and support for the country-specific legislative requirements. We think that's a real plus. Most other onboarding modules or systems, you need to configure that as you go along, and it can be quite tedious. So having that already done really reduces the setup time and enables you to get going. Our standard product, we can get people turned around in 24 hours using our system, sending out offers, and that's really valuable. We're the only dedicated onboarding offboarding vendor in Australia, so that's all we do, that's all our system does, and we just want to be the best at that. To be the best at that, we need to be open about our pricing. Our user guides are online, the way you can integrate to us, the way we commit to protecting your privacy and your data. Any incidents we have, we need to be open about that, such that you have that full trust in with us for your information and for that really critical business process. We really focus on the integration options. We're working with a lot of recruitment vendors, a lot of payroll vendors. I think we're up to about 6 or 7 payroll connectors. We've already done a lot of CSV connectors for the kind of legacy payroll systems, Chris21, Alesco, Proceda. We're now working on, as some of these payroll vendors get a bit more sophisticated with their integration options, we're now working on web service connectors. Regardless of whether it's CSV or web service, basically our connectors allow you stop the requirement to rekey information from the recruitment to the onboard to the payroll function. So that's really important. And last but not least, you're also backed by Navigo. HROnboard is backed, is a child company of Navigo, and we've been around for a long time with a large customer base in this HR technology space. I'd like to thank some of our amazing customers who are in this webinar today. Thank you for your support. I hope we can continue to live up to your expectations, but we welcome any feedback. Really, you guys are the ones who shape our products, so any feedback, good or bad, we want to hear it. That's what we're here for. And if you've got if you're operating in other geographic locations and you think the HROnboard platform could work in there, we'd love to hear from you as well, particularly at the moment, English-speaking foreign countries like the US, the UK, parts of Asia. Please let us know, because that's where we're going, and we think we can accommodate for you. Thanks also to our crazy team. So this is, if you always wonder who's behind HROnboard, this is a pretty recent photo from last Friday. We had our annual kickoff, but these are the crazy guys and girls who make it all possible. So thanks, guys. There was a big effort from both the development crew, from the customer success teams, from the marketing team, from the sales team. It's been a big effort to get this release out, and they're great guys and girls, and they do a great job. So good work. Don't forget our HUG, which is our online user guide. We should have put the URL on this slide.
Yeah.
That would have helped. But you can get to our HUG off our main website, HROnboard.com.au. Down the bottom footer menu links, there's a link to the HUG, I think, under support.
Also in the HROnboard itself, you can click on the help.
That's a good idea. Yes. Yes, the links are in the login page as well. But the HUG is our online documentation, and it's got a whole bunch of information there. It's also got developer information there as well. So thank you everyone for attending. If anyone's got any questions, happy to take them now and have an answer. But please, if you're loving HR on board, we'd encourage you to tell a friend, tell someone else in another company. We'd really appreciate it. We're growing at a rapid pace at the moment, but referrals are always really powerful for us, and we really appreciate it. But if anyone's got any questions, feel free, or don't forget you can contact the support or your customer success reps. So if that's the case, I don't think everyone's just stunned. Okay, so thanks very much, and we'll be in touch shortly. Thank you, Belinda.
No worries. Thanks,
Have a great day, everyone.